Hello everyone, I'm Jonathan Beck, Senior Pastor at Mulholland United Methodist Church, and I want to welcome you to our Safe Sanctuary training videos. Now, as a Christian community, our Safe Sanctuary policy comes out of our unwavering commitment to the physical safety and spiritual growth of all who come under our care. We will follow specific safety measures in the selection and recruitment of both staff and volunteers. We will implement prudent operational procedures in all programs, ministries, and events. We will provide broad education regarding our policies, as well as recognizing the signs of abuse. We will have clearly defined procedures for reporting suspected incident of abuse that conforms to the requirements of state law, and we will respond immediately and compassionately to any reported or suspected abuse. Again, following the requirements of state law and the policies of the Louisiana Conference of the United Methodist Church. In all our ministries, this congregation is committed to demonstrating the love of Jesus Christ so that every child of God will be surrounded by steadfast love, established in faith, and confirmed and strengthened in the way that leads to life eternal. Thank you for watching these videos. Mulholland is committed to the blank of all who come under our care: physical safety, spiritual growth, or physical safety and spiritual growth. That's right, the answer is C, physical safety and spiritual growth. Mulholland's Safe Sanctuary policy pertains to children, youth, adults, or all of the above. That's right, it's all of the above. Our Safe Sanctuary training is based on the idea that there are 3 levels of leadership and involvement in the ministries here at Mulholland. Now, Level 1 personnel are those who are paid staff of the church. They go through annual Safe Sanctuary training and agree to abide by our Safe Sanctuary policy. Now, as part of the hiring process, they undergo a criminal background check when arriving and every 3 years thereafter. As in any business, their references are checked for good and consistent character. Level 2 personnel are regular volunteers at Mulholland. They must be a part of the active life of the church for at least 6 months before taking on regular ministry responsibilities. One exception to the 6-month rule is for those in good standing transferring from another United Methodist Church. Now, Level 2 personnel must go through annual Safe Sanctuary training online or in person and agree to abide by our policy. They must complete a volunteer application form and interview with staff people in charge of the particular ministry area. Like any volunteer coaches at a soccer or baseball team, volunteers must undergo a background check. Now, Level 3 personnel are occasional volunteers. They must be made aware of pertinent Safe Sanctuary policies depending on the area of service and agree to abide by them. They must be personally known by the leader and work under the close supervision of a Level 1 or 2 personnel. Level 1 personnel are paid staff, regular volunteers, or C, occasional volunteers. That's right, it is A, paid staff. Level 2 personnel are paid staff, regular volunteers, or occasional volunteers. Level 2 are regular volunteers. Level 1 and Level 2 personnel must A, undergo annual Safe Sanctuary training, B, fill out a criminal background check form, C, sign a Safe Sanctuary covenant form, or all of the above. That's correct, it is all of the above. Adequate adult supervision is critical for the safety of our children and youth. Now, an adult is anyone 18 years or older. Every group of children or youth must have a minimum of 2 adult leaders who are unrelated. At least one of the adults must be at least 5 years older than the youth they are leading. Overnight stays require both male and female supervision if the group is of mixed gender. We also have what we call the easily observable rule. All classes, studies, recreation, and one-on-one counseling must be conducted in a public space or in a space easily observable by others at all times. Notice that our classrooms have windows in the doors so that someone randomly passing in the halls can see what is taking place in the rooms. Everything that we do here at Mulholland takes place in the full light of day with nothing to hide. An adult is anyone over 16 years old, 18 years old, or 21 years old. That's correct. It is 18 years or older. The two-adult rule is that there is a minimum of 2 adults for any group of children and youth, or B, there's a maximum of 2 adults for any group of children and youth. That's right. There's a minimum of 2 adults for any group of children and youth. The two-adult rule applies to children, children and youth, or children, youth, and adults. That's right. It is only required for children and youth. The easily observable rule is maintained by A, having windows on classroom doors, B, leaving the doors open, C, having someone randomly check on classes, or D, all of the above. That's right, all of the above maintain the rule. Since children need different amounts of attention in their various developmental stages, there are different adult to children ratios. Infant and toddler rooms require a 1 adult for 4 children, always observing the 2-adult rule. Whether there are 1 or 8 toddlers in a room, a minimum of 2 adults is required. When another child is added to the group for a total of 9 toddlers, 3 adults are required to keep within ratio. Now, children up to 12 require 1 adult per 8 children, and youth require a ratio of 1 to 10. Thus, to provide adequate supervision, 9 youth require 2 adults, the 2-adult rule, while 21 youth require 3 adults. For our children, we take extra care to have strict check-in and check-out procedures. Parents of infants through kindergarten must personally check in and out their little ones. Now, 1st to 5th graders must be picked up by a parent or designee. Grades 6 and up are free to move around campus unaccompanied by any adult unless otherwise requested by a parent. If you are volunteering in the infant to 5th grade ministries, you will be trained in these procedures. Teachers and staff members are mandatory reporters of suspected abuse. They must report any suspicious or observed sexual or physical abuse to the staff member in charge of the area, who then reports immediately to the senior pastor or staff parish relations committee. The SPRC has a response team that will begin the process of investigation. All suspected or observed abuse shall be reported according to Louisiana's laws. Mulholland's pastor and staff may be reached at 504-834-9910. The Department of Children and Family Services you can reach at 225-342-0286. What is an important safe sanctuary rule for infants through youth? A, infants are allowed to go to the pop machine by themselves. Toddlers don't need adult supervision. Or C, ratios of adults to children varies by age level. Infants is a 1 to 4 ratio, toddlers and children a 1 to 8 ratio, and youth a 1 to 10 ratio. That's right, obviously it's the ratios of adults to children that is very important to safe sanctuary. Who is a mandatory reporter? A, paid staff, B, the pastor, C, teachers, or all of the above? That's right, all of the above are mandatory reporters. Allegations of abuse of any kind should be reported to A, the custodian, B, the communications director, or C, the pastor, a staff member, or an SPRC member. That's right, it is those who are in leadership in the church. Now, here are the particulars for ministry with adults. All one-on-one meetings between adults should be held in an observable public place. Language and behavior that creates a hostile environment is prohibited. Unwelcome verbal or physical conduct based on race, color, religion, gender, national origin, age, disability, sexual orientation, or retaliation is not condoned. Leering, making offensive remarks about looks, or telling sexual or lewd jokes is not condoned. Sexual and gender harassment is strictly prohibited. That is, the unwanted sexual advance or demand, either verbal or physical, that is reasonably perceived by the recipient as demeaning, intimidating, or coercive. Gender harassment is harassing a woman because she is a woman or a man because he is a man. Sexual exploitation is strictly prohibited. Sexual contact or sexualized behavior within the ministerial relationship is a betrayal of sacred trust, a violation of the ministerial role, and exploitation of those who are vulnerable. It is the abuse of a position of power and influence. Any speech or behavior that creates a hostile environment or constitutes harassment or exploitation must be reported to the senior pastor or the Staff Parish Relations Committee chairman. Are adults allowed to have one-on-one meetings? Yes or no? Yes, they are. What qualifies as a hostile environment? Making offensive remarks based on race, gender, nationality, or age? Volunteering to make food at an event? Or telling Boudreaux and Thibodeau jokes? Right, it is making offensive remarks based on race, gender, nationality, or age. What qualifies as sexual exploitation? A, sexual contact or sexualized behavior by a teacher. B, sexual contact or sexualized behavior by a staff member. C, sexual contact or sexualized behavior by a pastor. Or all of the above. That is correct. It is all of the above. We also have guidelines for ministry transportation. Participation lists are required for all trips. Medical release forms must be filled out with emergency contact, permission by parent or guardian, and the release of liability. These are provided by our ministry team leaders. Drivers of our vehicles must be on our Mulholland insurance and approved drivers list. They must be 25 years old or older and have a Class D chauffeur's license and proof of insurance. They may not be otherwise disqualified by taking medications or being extremely tired or other circumstantial factors. They must fill out the van use form log recording the date of the trip, who was in the vehicle, and where they went, and how far they traveled. A copy of the list of passengers is placed in the church office before departing for any event. The church business administrator uses the van log to keep up with maintenance and repairs. When riding in our vehicles, all passengers must be securely fastened with a seatbelt. The same ratios of adults to children and youth apply when driving to and from locations off campus. We prefer to have 2 adults per vehicle, but at a minimum that all vehicles stay within eyesight of one another. What is not required for a youth trip using the church van? A medical release form with emergency contact information, permission by a parent or guardian, a list of everyone who is on the bus, or a list of what kind of snacks they eat. That's right, we don't care what kind of snacks they eat. What would disqualify someone to drive the church van? They are 24 years old. They have a Class D chauffeur's license. They have proof of insurance, or all of the above. That's right, it is that they are 24 years old. They must be 25 to drive our van. This safe sanctuary policy gives guidelines. We can never anticipate all eventualities, but we can take measures to reduce overall risk of anything happening to our children, youth, or adults. The use of digital data takes safe sanctuary into another realm of interaction between people. By the time you listen to this video, I'm sure that new forms of communication will have already popped up. This policy applies to all forms of interaction, including but not limited to photography, computer and internet use, telephone and email, and social networks like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I want to thank you for watching this Safe Sanctuary training video. During this time, we have discussed the most important aspects of our policy. However, there are more details and additional information that we ask you to read. The next step for you to be fully trained is to read our Safe Sanctuary policy provided on this website. In it, you will also find sections on how to recognize signs of child abuse and neglect, who are considered mandatory reporters, and contact numbers for staff members who are part of our Safe Sanctuary implementation and response team. The next step for you to be fully trained is to read our Safe Sanctuary policy provided on this website. In it, you will also find sections on how to recognize signs of child abuse and neglect, who are considered mandatory reporters, and contact numbers for staff members who are part of our Safe Sanctuary implementation and response team. Once you have read the Safe Sanctuary Policy, fill out the Volunteer Covenant Statement. Finally, please fill out the criminal background check form that will be provided by our ministry leaders. Your information will stay strictly confidential and only be used for its intended purpose. After that, it will be put in a secure filing cabinet. Now, if you have any questions about the Safe Sanctuary Policy or this training requirement, call the church office at 504-834-9910. It is vitally important that we all do our part to make sure that children, youth, and adults at Mulholland are provided not only a safe place, but a sacred environment in which to be nurtured and grow in the image of God. Thank you for watching these videos. Safe Sanctuary Policy anticipates all eventualities, is meant to reduce the overall risk, or neither. That's correct. It is meant to reduce the overall risk. Safe Sanctuary Policy applies to various forms of communications, including photography, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, other digital forms of interaction that will emerge in the future, or all of the above. Correct. It is all of the above. Thank you for doing your part in making Mulholland a safe environment for people to encounter Christ, to become strong disciples, and develop meaningful relationships. God bless you.